Okay, now we're going to add some buttons using inputs and outputs, as well as maybe a trigger and maybe something a little more advanced to try to open these three doors in different ways. Let's go over to our door on our right here, our rotating brush door, and we're going to create a button that you simply press to open it. So first off, let's start by Alt-Enter on our func door rotating, and on our flags, we're going to turn off that touch opens. So you can't touch it to open in. You can't use it to open. So basically this door isn't going to open for us when we just walk up to it. Close that guy. What we want to do is just create a button that will open this for us. Use our brush tool and just create a standard block. And we'll just make a quick little button here for us. There's also some prop buttons you could use, but we'll just create a quick brush. Don't need it to be a floor-to-ceiling button, but we do want it a lot lower than that, somewhere where we can actually grab it right around where the doorknob would be. Sounds about logical. And we'll put it on the little edge there. Alright, let's give it a different texture. We'll give it maybe some kind of button texture. I got a few different buttons here. You could also pick any range of textures you'd like. Make that solid. Do some aligning if we want. Get fit in there. Alright, we're going to grab our brush. We're going to tie it to an entity. We're going to call for a func. We're going to call for a func underscore button. Simple enough. Apply. We're going to name our button. We're going to call this, since we're at door 3, we'll call it button 3. Button 3. Take a look at its flags. First flag is don't move. By default, a func button, when you press it, is going to slide like our sliding door left to right or back and forth. But we don't want that to happen. We don't want it to move. So let's click don't move. We do want it to be able to toggle. We want this button to toggle on or off. And we could have some other touch or damage would activate it. We could have it spark. Okay, but for now we're just going to not move and we're going to allow our button to toggle. Now let's check out some inputs and outputs to give the functionality to this button. We're going to be able to tell it when you do something, output a signal to something else to do something else. So in this case, we're going to have an output, add an output to our button. In our output tab, we have a list of different outputs we can add, along with a set of parameters. So for now, let's add an output to our button. Hit the drop-down box for our parameters we can use. And the output that we want, the event that we want to trigger this output, is going to be on pressed. So when this button is pressed, what does it do? Well, when this button is pressed, we want it to target a certain entity. And it only shows us entities that we have named. This is where naming comes in really important. So we're going to target our door 3. So when our button is pressed, the door 3 entity should do what? It should open. Simple enough. When it's pressed, the door should open. Or it should toggle. Toggling between open and close. When the button is pressed, door 3 will toggle, open and closed. Apply. Now you'll see this black circle with a line and an arrow. That means this output signal is successfully linked between the output of the button and the input of the door. If we were to click on our door, we haven't assigned any outputs, but if you switch to the input tab, you'll see that we do have an input that is originating from our button 3. When the button 3 is pressed, my input, the door's input, will toggle. And we can double click on our source to go immediately to that output. So you can quickly travel between input and output links of your entities. So let's try it. We have our button, once pressed, will open or close our door. Let's give it a quick shot. Now there's our button. We can walk up to our door, run into it, use it, doesn't open. Use our button. Oh, opens right up. Use it again, closes. Open, close. Pretty nifty. And pretty simple, just a single output that tells the button to tell the door to open, and an input for the door that's automatically created that says once this other entity, this button is pressed, you should open. Now let's try some other inputs, outputs for our other doors. We'll scoot over to our middle door here, our slider. And for this guy, let's leave it that we can open it by using the door itself, or even by having the touch open. Kind of cool touch open slide effect. Makes it feel like you're on a train or some sci-fi movie or something. So we'll leave touch to open. We could also enable use open if you want. I'm just going to leave touch open. Apply that. Let's create with our block tool a couple different things. Go to our middle door here. We'll create a simple piece of geometry in front of our door where we'll put another button that simply unlocks the door. So we'll create one of our dev textures, a little pedestal where we can put a button. And we can just duplicate this guy. Selection tool. Just drag him up, put him on top, shrink it down. We can use our clipping, our vertex tool, to just kind of give our button a little more of a angle here, so it looks maybe a little more like a button. Apply a texture to it, or even just to the top face. Let's go back to our button texture we've been using here. Apply that, fit it, just go about 90 degrees, and fit that again. There we go. Makes it look a little more like a button. Okay, now we'll take this object, we're going to tie it to an entity. Just create another func button. Apply. Let's name this guy button 2, since this is again our second door. And we'll select our door. We'll select the flag for it to start locked. So by default, our door is going to be locked, even though we should be able to touch to open it if it's unlocked. If it's locked, you're not going to be able to touch to open it. So this way, when we start and we try to open it up, it shouldn't open. It should be locked. So we'll apply that, switch back to our button. And we're going to add an output, which simply unlocks the door. And we can still use the door to slide open. So let's add an output. Let's add an on pressed. When we press this button, our door 2 is going to unlock. Apply that. You can see that we've indeed made a correct input-output string between our two objects. Now if we did something wrong, if we typed in an entity that didn't exist, or we had a parameter that wasn't valid, just say invalid, we tried to have that, it would tell you what was wrong about it in bright red within your fields. And you get this big long red line coming straight through your signal that things have been connected, telling you that this has not been correctly linked. So we'll go back to door 2, which is where we want to target. And you see that red line goes away. We're all good. We also have the option to delay after a certain number of seconds. So we could unlock the door by pressing the button. Then we could add another output, or simply copy and paste our existing output. And after the button has been pressed, it will unlock door 2. But then let's say we want to lock door 2 back up again. So we'll switch to lock. And without a delay, it's in an instant going to unlock and lock our door again. So we won't be able to open it by walking into it. But if you give it a delay on the lock, if we say you'll unlock immediately, in about 4 or 5 seconds, the door will lock again. Then we should be able to click it, run through. But if we wait too long, it'll unlock. Or by the time we get to the other side, it'll be locked again. So let's try that guy out. Run our map. Alright, we'll run into our door. Hear that sound that it's locked. Little locked sound. And if we hit our button, oh, we didn't we didn't adjust the move flag, so we're getting a little movement. And now we can walk through. Door closes again. Should be locked. Locked again. Whoop. Unlock. We'll have to adjust our flag, but it's kind of cool that it slides a little bit. Now it opens. And you should note that it doesn't only lock again after we've opened it. If we were to hit the button, give it our 5 seconds, walk back over to it, still locked. So we have 5 seconds to open, to hit our button, go through our door, and then, oh no, if we don't make it back, oh, locked again. So, kind of cool. Nifty, nifty. Alright, let's try our last door. Exit.